and things that I have gone through that has helped me and has also helped others, and I want to make sure that we are all supporting each other. And if it was wrong, they find another way to justify why they did it. And they will do it in a way to manipulate you to side with them. Today, what I need you to do is focus on how I can validate my own damn self without me feeling like I need to find someone else to do that validation for me. That's what, yes, champion, when I say love yourself again, you may have never even explored it.
It's very, very, very powerful, is that there is no love without forgiveness, and there is no forgiveness without love. You need to understand specifically.
Hi everyone, this is adyashere. I am here today, and you guys see my girl here. This is Lynette, and she's with Joy Journey. So we're here today to, y'all saw the title already. If you didn't look at the title, what does it say? We are addressing our fears today. Y'all know that we got a workshop, a power session that is next Tuesday, August 4th. And if you haven't seen that, please make sure that you sign up for that live power session. So I'll give Lynette the floor a little bit so then she can see, tell you guys what she's about and all of that. And then we'll go into addressing our fears.
Thank you. So I am Lynette, and I am with Joy Journey. I'm the owner, CEO of Joy Journey. And Joy Journey really is about helping people find the best versions of themselves, living their lives unapologetically, authentically, so they can get to the lives that they deserve. And so this first session was so important because fear and shame is really packed into a lot of the ways that we lead our paths. And if we can address our fear and shame, like from a real place though, y'all, not from that I was afraid of failure, and so I addressed that fear and told myself, I believe she could, so she did. Like, no, this is not about the positive affirmations we see on quotes. This is about the real shadow work, the real work about being authentic and showing up for who you really are and what you're really afraid of.
So y'all already know I'm super excited. We are just super excited to be doing this power session with y'all. So we're gonna do this. So we see people getting online right now, and I see y'all showing love. Jeri's on there. David's on there. We see y'all on here. Please, for 1 minute, okay? I'm gonna count it down. Share this video with someone. Share this video with someone or two.
I'm going to share mine on my page right now.
I can't, because I'm on live. Share this video. Share this live with someone right now, and then we'll get right into it. So let's wait.
Oh, look, and it's talking on here, and I'm trying to share.
Share this video. Share this live.
So we're back.
All right. So giving it a little bit of time. Sharing this video out. Share in this video. Share this video. All right, so I am excited. You know what? I put on there 1,000%, being 1,000% vulnerable today. So I'm about to be super 1,000%. Lynn's about to be super 1,000% vulnerable. Tag someone in this video. Share this video with someone right now. If you look in and you know that somebody up here, two females up here about to address their fears, I guarantee you somebody else got some fears too, because we ain't the only two that's dealing with it, and we ain't the only one that's got to go in on it. So, okay, what you wanna ask me?
You know what? One of the things that I think we had in common was it's a club that none of us actually want to join. It is an involuntary club that you become a part of, but that's the Divorcee Club. And so I talk about that because I know that was a big source of shame for me, and I just wonder, and I think for so many women out here, if we can just speak to that, like how did that change you, and what fear and shame did you bring from that?
So let me go ahead and put this out there. I was married, right? I was married twice. No one knew about my second marriage. was years ago. I wasn't putting that out there right now. I was so ashamed of letting people know that I was even married twice. And not even that, I was married, divorced once, and then you get married again, and then you divorce again. So y'all, if you can understand where that comes from a person's perspective, you feel like something is really wrong with me. I'm jacked up. And I was afraid to say, even tell someone that I was even married, and not alone married twice. And then you say, then you trying to link up with someone, you're like, well, I'm actually divorced twice, you know? So that's something that I wanted to make sure I put that out there. Y'all know I bring the real with the love, and that was one of my biggest aha moments, is that I was fearful of that, letting people know, and I was also ashamed of failed marriages. I was so ashamed of failed marriages. The reason why is because it's so important that we address this within ourselves. So what happened is that since I was shameful of being divorced, right? Being a part of the Divorce Club. So they must got a part 2 of the Divorce Club, because I'm in the... I upgraded my divorce to being divorced twice. So I was really afraid of that. I was 100% afraid of letting people know that I was divorced. And it's not so much that I was divorced once, it was being divorced twice. Because I thought like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough for anyone, because here's what happened. Those people go on with their lives, right? Those people go on with their lives, and here you are stuck. You are stuck with your own emotions, with your own self. And these people going on, and you like, dang, it must was me, because they got everything else lined up now because they with other people. That alone was just, I was ashamed of that. I was even ashamed after my first marriage, because my first marriage, it was my high school sweetheart, and we were so in love, and then we married so young, and then we ended up divorcing soon after we got married. I got married when I was 20 years old. I got married when my first marriage, I was 20 years old. And that was over 10 years ago. And my goodness, I've learned so much from that. And I was so ashamed. And I'm letting you guys know is that it's okay. No matter where you've been, right? No matter what your fears are, no matter what that shame is, you are still enough. But we are so afraid to say this because we are so afraid of what someone else may think of us. I don't really care what a person thinks of me, but we still need to address these things so we can get help. I fell into a bad depression, right? And I'm pretty sure Lynn is going to talk about her situation too, you know?
Yeah, so like we said, the club that you don't want to be in, twice divorced. I asked her times, like, how did you do it twice? Because once was so brutal for me. And so I think a big source of shame for me was I am by nature an exceller. So I have excelled at pretty much everything I have done in life. I have 2 master's degrees. I'm a director at my job. I exceed all my goals. And here I am with the one thing, which was getting someone to keep liking me. I couldn't do that. And that was a big, that was a huge, I was so ashamed. And so most people that are hearing about this now are thinking, oh, you know, she just must have, you know, recently broke up and she's healing and things like this. And so they give me all these cute little affirmations and things on healing. What they don't actually know is me and my husband, ex-husband, separated in 2018, August 23rd, 2018. I moved out of that house, and, you know, we had, at that point, both said that we weren't going to necessarily talk about divorce at that time. We were just going to do some work on ourselves, which, you know, whether that's what he really meant or not, we'll never know. But, you know, I went back and forth a little bit, not telling people, because at first it was, I didn't want to get back together and look stupid. So if people never knew we were apart and we got back together, then, you know, it would have been okay. And so, you know, 2018, we separated, and I worked really hard to move on and heal. And I mean, you know, I even went out on a couple of dates, you know, but I wanted my marriage to work, you know, and it wasn't, like, we weren't together anymore. And it just was this weird thing of, you know, you say I do, and then you don't. And so it was just a really hard thing. It was easier to deal with when he was telling me, you know, I just don't want to be married. I just don't want a wife. I don't like being married. That's not, I just want to do what I want to do. And so it wasn't really personal. I don't think it got personal for me, and the source of shame deepened until, he came back and said, okay, no, now I officially want the divorce, because he wanted to be with somebody else.
Yes.
And, he went off to have a family with them. And I was like, oh my God, so it was me. And I did fail, and I wasn't good enough. And why couldn't he do these things with her? Like, why couldn't he just do that with her, with me? Like, and then we could have been great, And so it was, I slipped into a huge depression. And honestly, let me keep it real with y'all. Shame that I'm still working through, because there is this shame of all things that I can do in life. I can excel at education. I can excel at my job. But what I can excel at is getting somebody to like me continuously. That was a huge source of embarrassment for me. And then even going out, and the ideal of getting serious with somebody again, which I hadn't done. I hadn't taken anybody seriously, because I thought in my mind that it was all going to work out. And he was going to realize, how to, you don't appreciate what you got till it's gone.
Yep.
I had this idea that it was all going to work out, and I was going to win, and I was going to get my mate back. And I didn't. And so when I went out seriously dating again, I had this huge source of shame. Like, how do I tell this person I'm broken and not enough and not good enough? And I didn't feel pretty enough, because I just thought, well, maybe if I was prettier, or maybe if I was, smarter, or maybe if I had been a better wife, that I wouldn't be out searching for another mate. And so that shame really messed me up. It messed up probably potential dating opportunities with people that were interested in me, because I already assumed that I wasn't enough. And so I showed up to the table as less. I showed up to the table like, let me find a way to self-sabotage this so I can self-prophesy the failure, because if this one man didn't want me, then eventually no other man is going to want me either. And so that shame really rolled with me. And it's just 2 years later, I got my divorce decree in the mail, July 20th of this year. And I stared at it. Well, not in the mail, in the email. I stared at it for a while, and I was like, wow, I'm officially, and then there was a source of shame of now, I don't know if this came up for you, is when people ask my last name, and I'm like, I don't know, because I don't feel connected with Jones anymore, and I'm not Adams anymore. And so there's this source of lost self that I feel like I don't even know who I am at this point. I'm not Lynette Adams anymore, because that man didn't want me. And I'm not Lynette Jones anymore, because I've evolved past that. And there's no other person to replace. And so there's just this source of embarrassment and fear and shame that I'll never be who I am, whoever that is, because I don't even have a name. I think that's been the hardest thing. I mean, I guess it's the 31st, so I'm 11 days officially divorced. Yeah. And it's just this 11 days have been like, well, what name do I even give people? And so that I think, that's a huge thing that we probably are not the only two people in this club that go through.
And and even speaking of that, hear us out when we talk about this, and specifically around me. I wanted to address this as honest as possible, being real and 100 as possible. And I said 1,000% vulnerable,
1,000.
Because this needs to be addressed. And by me putting myself out there, I know 1,000% we all, right? Because it's an emotion. We all have fears. We all have that shame. But how much are we suppressing that stuff? And then how much are we allowing that stuff to suppress us to the point to where we just tolerate anything? And then when we just tolerate anything, that means that we are prone to, right? Anything. And I was that. I became a victim, right? For a long time, I lived in this victim state, is that I'm just going to accept and attach myself to anyone that attached themselves to me. And that led me to go into another marriage, right? That led me to go into another failed marriage, because I didn't realize my own value, my own worth, because I just wanted to be loved. Now, here's what happened, right? Here's what happened when you have these things, these fears and this shame to where we don't address this. You become prey. You become a prey to anyone. You become prey to people that have heavy personality disorders. You become prey of those people that are narcissists. You become prey, right? Especially if you are a heavy, if you're an empath, right? If you are an empath, or if you are a codependent. If you are those type of people, and you're that type of person that's always a caregiver, which is a codependent, or the need to be needed, or you're an empath that takes on way more than you should, and you feel every emotion that a person is bringing in your energy, you are prone right? You are a moving target. And what happens, right? Because I was a codependent for years after that. I became a codependent, and I didn't even know what codependency was. But here's the overall thing. And if y'all hear that, that's just the jet doing this thing up there. But it's really the need to be needed. And we all have codependency characteristics, but I took it to a high level. So that means that I accepted everything. And after that second divorce, I fell into so much resentment towards men, so much resentment towards my own parents. Sometimes I just wanted to blame somebody. I just wanted to blame someone because I didn't know why I wasn't normal, why I wasn't this normal person. But I realized that I am normal. I realize that it's totally okay. I realize people go through this all the time. If I fall 1,000,000 times, then you better believe that I'm going to get up that 1,000,001 time, and I'm going to do the same thing and get even better. And that's where we're at with our fears, right? We have multiple fears and then our shames, because we have multiple of these things. And that's why we're here today. We're here to tell you guys is that we hear you. We see it. I see it, right? I can see it all on people's faces sometimes. And social media can put on a facade as much as it won't, honey.
You know, but I was going to say, I want to just jump in on that because I remember, it's two things I wanted to add to what you were saying is that one, I remember when I was first, and I was going through this divorce, I would say, divorce is so lonely. People just don't show up for you. And what I realized is I was too afraid and ashamed to tell people I was going through anything, so they didn't know to show up for me. So it wasn't that they didn't want to be supportive or they didn't want to add something to it. It was I had so much shame packed into a failed marriage that I went in overtime. So it was funny because people would look on social media and be like, oh, you're living your best life, you're traveling. And I went into overcompensation, overdrive of appearing happy so that it could look like whatever went wrong was, you know, it had to have been his fault because I'm good. And this is really not a conversation about whether it was his fault or my fault. I think it takes two people to for a marriage to fail. Even if there's a narcissist empath at play, it's a codependent dynamic that takes it to fail. And so this isn't about responsibility, but the responsibility on me was to ask for that help and not to paint this picture. So there were people thinking I was completely happy, and because that's what I was portraying in those 30-second snapshots on Facebook, when really it was the lowest time of my life. So the best pictures on social media were when I was at my very lowest. And so I just put that out there to say that a lot of people, I think for both of us, what I hear is that it's not so much even the fear and shame. You look for something to blame or replace because you don't want to acknowledge that you're afraid of something. Nobody wants to say, I'm actually ashamed of my choices, or I'm actually ashamed of this part of my life, or I'm actually afraid of this outcome, or afraid of what other outcomes could be. So rather than to really address your fear and shame and work on that inwardly, it's easier to just project and say, you know what, the world has done me wrong.
Yes.
Trauma.
And that's where we're at, folks. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we're gonna be talking about a lot of this stuff in our power session. So if you hear me, if you hear my voice and you hear Lynn's voice, y'all already know that we are really, really trying to put this message out there. Y'all already know we are transformational coaches, and we just want to help and save folks and help people with these situations, because I'm going to tell y'all real quick, I did not have a social media after my first divorce. It's actually when my daughter was a kid. I think a baby, when my daughter was a baby. And y'all see me on social media now is because I've gotten to that point now to where I'm like, I can have a social media, I can do these things. But when y'all didn't hear from me for almost a decade and on social media since like 2010, I was at my lowest point. It just looked like that. And I really had to come to terms with myself and say, Cherie, you really need help. You really need this help. And that was something that I kept hearing, right? You can hear it, but it's hard to act up on it. That's why in this class, we're going to be going over so much of this. If you were in my communication class, it was so powerful understanding about the intelligent piece versus the emotional piece of it. Because sometimes we can know stuff, but I always say we don't ever address this stuff under the hood because we always like to clean the car on the outside. Right. And that's where we're at right now in our power session. We are going to be posting that link at the very, very bottom. It is 25 slides, but I am so welcome if you guys just come in and just show some love and knowing that this is a community to where we are going to be addressing it from two dynamic and authentic women that are not going to sugarcoat and fluff up no words for you, because we want to make sure that we help you. And I feel like the best way to help people is to be real and 1,000% vulnerable and 1,000% honest and telling people the truth,
right? And how we got here.
Yeah, because
and how we got here.
And I think that's something that I've been sharing that in my videos too, is that in order for you to know who I am, this is who I am. You know, I'm unmuting me because when you saw that, I was muted for a long time. I suppressed myself a long time. I wanted everybody to validate and appreciate me. So in order for me to feel validated and appreciated, I needed to shut my mouth and just do what people say and please people to the highest level, right? Here's one story for me. I was so much a people pleaser to where if you ask me for some money, I didn't even have it, but I'll still do it. I'll still do those things. And I didn't even have the money. How stupid is that, right? Like, I didn't even have the money to give you, but I'm giving you, people say, I'll give you the shirt off my back. I was that person, and I'll give you my socks, and I'll give you my tights.
Right.
Like, I'll give
and you didn't ask for my car, but do you need a ride?
Like, so. And I was giving way too much. I was giving way too much. So I am so happy that we are about to do this thing with y'all, because it's important that we do address the real with the love. And y'all know UnMutingMe and Joy Journey, we all have our journeys, right? But unless we unmute our journey, right?
Yes.
Unless we
that's why we work.
Yeah. Unless we unmute our journey is just a journey.
Yeah, you have to live your journey
Bring
out loud.
Meaning to your journey. And at the UnMutingMe, you know, we gonna have, it's like having bad table manners, meaning that the uncomfortable is the new comfortable. So join us next Tuesday. Is August 4th. It's our Fear and Shame live power session. When I say live power session, it is a private session. It won't be on Facebook. You do have to secure a spot because it is through a different platform to where we're going to be going in. And I'm so happy to see y'all. This is adyashere with UnMutingMe Transformational Coaching.
Lynette Adams with Joy Journey and Finding Your Miracle Mindset.
I love it. I love it. We're going to see y'all later. And we're going to put the information on how to secure your spot. Secure it today because the spots are getting filled. And we need to see faces. No judgmental stuff, right? I'm going to tell y'all this. People ask me, when would I stop judging? Never. Long as you in the human body, in this physical flesh, you ain't going to stop judging, but you can learn how to control how you think and how you look at people because you can understand their journey. So this is adyashere and Lynette, and we are here showing love. We'll see y'all later.
See you later.
Y'all be blessed.